Hello and welcome. You watching the Sunday edition of This is Exclusive with me, Shehbaz. Ladies and gentlemen, our top focus tonight. Shehbaz Sharif becomes the Prime Minister. This is the second time that he becomes the Prime Minister of Pakistan. But remember, he takes the reins at a time when there is fractured mandate. Not just that, complete polarization and the fact that its economy is in complete doldrums. What does this really mean for the entire subcontinent? And not just that, we'll also get you tonight an exclusive interview with Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav on India's big chip moment. All this and much more on this edition of This is Exclusive. But up first, these are the headlines we're tracking for you at this hour. BJP gets battle ready. Prime Minister Modi chairs the last Council of Ministers meeting ahead of 2024 Lok Sabha polls.
जब मणिपुर में हिंसा हुई और 2 महिलाओं को निर्वस्त्र करके परेड किया गया, तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार से कौन सुप्रीम कोर्ट में खड़ा हुआ? बांसुरी स्वराज जी खड़ी।
Aam Aadmi Party attacks the BJP over Bansuri Swaraj's candidature, says she stood against women of Manipur.
जो शाहजहान शेख है, उसको अरेस्ट करने के बाद पुलिस का बिहेवियर उसके साथ कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री था।
Fact-finding team in Sandesh Khali meets victims, alleges Mamata's cops favouring Shahjahan Sheikh. Spanish tourist recounts harrowing gang rape by 7 in Jharkhand's Dumka, 3 arrested so far. Bengaluru explosion probe gathers pace. 8 investigation teams formed a meeting of senior officers today. Shehbaz Sharif becomes the Prime Minister of Pakistan for a second time to lead a coalition government. Ladies and gentlemen, after nearly 2 years of intense political instability by the ouster of former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan in April 2022, the crisis-ridden country elected their new Prime Minister. 24 long days after cash-strapped Pakistan went to polls, Shehbaz Sharif, backed by PMLN and PPP, has won the Pakistan Prime Ministerial elections with 201 votes, chosen as the consensus candidate of PMLN and Pakistan People's Party. Shehbaz secured 201 votes, surpassing the 169 needed in the 336-member parliament. But soon after he was sworn in, he started his vicious agenda against India. Now, in fact, in his first speech after being elected by the parliament, Pakistan's Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said that the National Assembly had to pass a resolution in support of Kashmiris, while assailing the international community for its silence. Now, elections in any country are harbinger of change, but in Pakistan, with the military pulling the strings from behind the scenes, a change is not what one expects. But the fact of the matter is this, ladies and gentlemen, that it has got its own ramifications in the subcontinent. Afghanistan has already expressed their displeasure. There has already been a conflict as far as the Durand line is concerned. On the other hand, Pakistan is not willing to give up their national hobby, that is exporting terrorists, particularly across the line of control. All that put together, an unstable Pakistan only means difficult times ahead. Take a look at this report and then we go across to my colleague Kaswar, who's going to join us from outside the parliament in Islamabad.
Shehbaz Sharif, a brother of 3-time former Pakistan PM Nawaz Sharif, will take the Prime Minister's oath for the second time. The announcement comes a full 24 days after his fate was sealed in a ballot. With no party securing a clear majority and parties struggling to strike an alliance to form a government.
जिनको भी मैंडेट मिला है, हम दिल की गहराइयों से एहतराम करते हैं, चाहे वो पार्टी है, चाहे वो फर्द वाहिद है, चाहे वो आजाद लोग हैं, हम उनका भी एहतराम करते हैं। हम उनको भी दावत देते हैं कि इस जख्मी पाकिस्तान को मुश्किलात से निकालने के लिए आओ हमारे साथ बैठो।
But when the votes were counted, the Sharifs came in second after independence, backed by jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Shehbaz now will lead a shaky government with external support of his party's long-term rival turned ally, the Bhutto Zardari-run Pakistan People's Party. Shehbaz retakes the reins of a broke Pakistan as the country faces strong and multiple headwinds that are both internal and external. The heavily indebted nation, perpetually on the vigil on its frontier with India, is also now engaged on its borders with Iran and Afghanistan.
نیم ټوټه افغانستان نن جلا ده د خط ډیورنډ نه اخواته واقع ده. دا په داسې حال کې چې موږ خط ډیورنډ په ټول عمر کې نه په رسمیت پیژندلی او نه یې پیژنو. دغه فرضي کرښه ده چې انګریزانو د افغانانو په زړه باندې تېره کړې ده. او نن زمونږ په ګاونډ کې زمونږ شرق همسایه په ډېر ظالمانه صورت سره مهاجرین له غجر راباسي او ورته وایي چې تاسو خپل وطن ته ولاړ شئ.
Elections in any country are harbingers of change. But in Pakistan, with the military pulling the strings from behind the scenes, a change is not what one expects.
आए हम आज एक सब यकजान दो कालिब हो जाएं और फलस्तीन और गजा की जो बदतरीन जो वहाँ पर जुल्म ढाए जा रहे हैं, कश्मीर में जो बदतरीन जुल्म ढाए जा रहे हैं, उनके ऊपर पाकिस्तान न सिर्फ अपना असूली मौक़िफ़ लेके आए, बल्कि ये ऐवान आज एक करारदाद पास करे शदीद मजम्मत की और कश्मीरियों और फ़लस्तीनियों की, उनके हकूक़ की, उनकी आज़ादी की, कि उसके बगैर आज का ये ऐवान की ये कार्रवाई नामुकम्मल रहेगी.
For now, it seems the beleaguered nation is singing the same old tune. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Let me also bring in my colleague Kaswar, who's been tracking the elections very closely, getting us all the live updates from Pakistan. Perhaps it's been one difficult election for the Pakistanis also. But for the first time, perhaps an attempt that was made by the Pakistanis to put up a fight against the army. The very fact that you have PTI-backed candidates who have actually got more number of seats than the PMLN and the PPP is a clear indication of what the Pakistanis essentially want, and a fight to be put up against the army, something that the army perhaps found it extremely difficult to digest. Kaswar, first with regards to the maiden speech that has been made by Shehbaz Sharif. The fact of the matter is this, that rather than concentrating about the economic roadmap of Pakistan, which is in complete doldrums, the debt is only mounting, which only means that it's going to get far more difficult. His complete speech does not really indicate how exactly Pakistan will come out of this debt trap.
Well, Shaman, you exactly pointed out that today, Pakistan's parliament have elected its leader of the house, and in his first ever speech as leader of the house, Shehbaz Sharif has mentioned that country is, deteriorating the situation as well. A pile of issues are confronting or are actually waiting for the future government of Shehbaz Sharif as well. And he especially mentioned that it is a country that has been breed under the debt. And clearly, sorry to say, we were expecting that Shehbaz Sharif may come up with a solution. He may know how will he guide this indebted nation to come out of crisis. But sadly, he could not mention the roadmap. How will he guide the nation to come out of crisis? It is actually a sorry state of affairs in Pakistan as well. Definitely, he's going to take oath as the Prime Minister tomorrow. But one thing for sure, that he will be leading, first of all, he will be leading the most weak coalition government in the history of Pakistan. Remember, it is going to be a coalition government that has been formed with the help of 8 political parties. And definitely, I have been watching these elections very closely. But one thing is for sure, that this country, it is highly indebted, and the government in the future is not coming up with any solution. They will go to the IMF, and clearly they don't have any roadmap to take this indebted nation out of the crisis. It's a sorry state that I can share this tale outside Pakistan's parliament as well. Millions of Pakistanis are actually looking forward to the newly government, but they don't know that this weak government will not be in a position to steer Pakistan out of multiple challenges, Shaman.
Well, thank you very much, Kaswar, for getting us the latest details. We'll keep coming back to you as there is a continuous focus on what's really happening in Pakistan. In fact, tonight at 9 p.m., that's a global debate as to what really does it mean to have Shehbaz Sharif as the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Now, shifting focus now to that exclusive interview with Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. Earlier this week, a big cabinet decision was taken by the Modi government. This is with regards to the semiconductor industry. Remember, 80% of the global market is largely held by countries like South Korea, Japan, and China as far as semiconductors are concerned. But as far as the Modi government is concerned, they say it's a 20-year roadmap that has already been laid out. 3 plants have already been given the nod, and a massive investment push has been made. Listen in to what Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav had to say in this exclusive interview. On This Is Exclusive tonight, we focus on the big India's chip mission. What does that really mean in terms of the investment that has been given by the government? Joining us on this special broadcast is Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav. Sir, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. Let me straight away begin by asking you, successive governments have tried this in the past. We've seen that somewhere down the line, it hasn't really worked out. To begin with, how has it been different than what it was in the past in terms of the challenges? We'll come to it a little later. But what has really worked this time?
You're absolutely right. India's semiconductor quest started way back in 1962. Attempts were made in 1970, in 80, 84, in 2007, 2011. Many times attempts were made. But the clarity of vision, the clarity of thought that our Prime Minister has, that kind of clarity was missing earlier. And commitment to developing a high-tech technology, high-tech industry like this, and the focus on Make in India, all these things combined have really made a big difference this time. Now we have 4 good large units which will basically set the entire foundation. We have focused on getting the ecosystem in because fab is very, very complex. Close to 16,000 different types of things go in getting a chip done. So it's really complex. So this kind of complexity required a level of consistency, clarity, transparency, and commitment, which is what was possible because of Prime Minister's very big focus on semiconductors.
For the common man who's watching this, a semiconductor becomes important from the word go, be it at home, the toaster that works in our home, to the refrigerator, to everything. Why is it that the Prime Minister has always been saying that while the global market, if you really look at it, 80% of it has been dominated by South Korea, China, and the other countries too? Where does India really see itself? Can we actually position ourselves in a manner that we can compete, or you think this is a long-drawn process and the dividends of it can only come at a later stage?
We definitely can compete because if you look at the value chain, design is the first part of it. Fabrication is the second part. ATMP is the third part. I'll explain how it works. Design is mostly done on computers. There are very complex tools which are used. After that, the circuit has to be put on a wafer. It has to be fabricated on a wafer. This is a wafer. On this wafer, more than 5,000 chips are there. They are fabricated on this. It's very, very complex process. If you take the tip of your nail, 1 lakh times finer, smaller than this is the magnitude with which the chips are fabricated on the wafer. Once you fabricate it, it has to be taken out, which is again minuscule, you cannot see it with your eyes. Then it has to be ATMP'd. So when you do ATMP, the chips are basically put inside this entire thing and wiring is done. So for example, a complex chip can have wiring of 100 kilometers. 100 kilometers. Even the simplest of simple chips will have few kilometers of wiring in it. Then there is air conditioning, cooling in it. Lots of complexity. It's like having a 10-story building which will have a lift going up and down, which will have plumbing, which will have electricity. There will be some houses which are 3 BHK flats. There are some flats which are 4 BHK, 2 BHK. There will be some parking section. So that entire, just like a large complex of building, similarly a chip can be very, very complex inside. Then this chip is done as a part of the ATMP process. Then it goes into a circuit, and a circuit is what practically goes into every device. So practically every device that is either switched on or switched off, whether it's your refrigerator, your TV, your toaster, your scooty, your car, your train, metro, aeroplane, the mic that you're holding, the watch that you wear, everything has semiconductors in it. From missiles to trains and from aeroplanes to refrigerators. Everything has semiconductor. It's very important to get this foundational industry in a country. Like steel, like chemicals. If you have steel industry, you can have many more downstream industries. If you have chemical industry, you can have many more downstream industries, right? Same is the case with semiconductors. Once you have semiconductor industry, module manufacturers will come to India, laptop manufacturers will come to India, your automobile manufacturing gets a quantum jump, mobile manufacturing gets a boost. So all these industries, entire manufacturing space today requires semiconductors. That's why this focus on getting the semiconductor industry into India.
Talking about the incentives also that the government had announced back in December 2021, that announcement was actually made. Is it also keeping in mind the kind of incentives that our allies, for example, in EU, the United States of America, that entire argument that are their incentives more attractive in nature, which brings in several other companies? I'm not getting into specifics of any company at this point in time. What really happens in terms of the investment plan or the incentive plan in the days to come? Will that be a major focus area also?
Globally, the industry is today seen as a strategic industry. And only a handful of countries actually have this industry. So a lot of emphasis is being given by governments across the world. I wouldn't take any names, but there are countries which are investing 150 billion US. There are countries which are investing even $280 billion. That is the kind of investment that many of these large tech-focused countries are making. So it's very important for us to make sure that the foundation is laid so that we can, from this foundation, we can build upon a very huge ecosystem. The advantages that we have is large talent pool. Close to 1/3 of the semiconductor talent pool is in India. Every large company that you see, semiconductor company, will have practically majority of their technical personnel from India, Indian origin, maybe other country citizenship, but that's the kind of talent we have. With stable policy, with big focus on manufacturing, and with the incentives, the industry has come to India, and in the coming 5 years, we will see the next level where we'll see many more fabrication units, many more fabs, many more ATMP units, but we'll also see full chip sets being designed and manufactured in India.
I also want to ask you this, Minister Vaishnaw, perhaps it's a personal interest also because we come from that very place. The Prime Minister time and again has spoken about Act East in the sense that northeastern states should be brought into the development aspect arena. This is yet another industry where you're bringing in the Northeast into the focus. Can you tell us how it really impacts the Northeastern states, particularly, especially with the kind of announcements that have been made?
Our Prime Minister is very focused on development of Northeast. Highway connectivity, railway connectivity, optical fiber connectivity, electrical power supply connectivity, everything he has put focus. He has visited Northeast more than 50 times in his 10 years. No other Prime Minister would have ever done this kind of visits to Northeast. And today, such a high-tech industry, like semiconductor industry, Prime Minister has approved the proposal of Tata Electronics to set up the semiconductor unit in Assam. And this will become a major boost. It's a 27,000 crore investment. This will create large number of downstream industries. We can very clearly see electronics manufacturing going into Northeast in the coming years. So there is very big focus on getting the high-tech industries to Northeast because this is where the future is.
So how do you see that really panning out, particularly in the states like Assam? Do you see that would it be spreading to the other northeastern states, or right now the focus would essentially be keeping in mind the logistical aspect, the infrastructure development that has already taken place in the state of Assam? Does it spill over to the other states also?
I can clearly see it will benefit the entire Northeast.
Minister, let me also take one more question with regards to the talent pool that you made a mention. Earlier, most of our talent pool, particularly when it comes to the semiconductor industry, had to move out because the opportunities were less. R&D becomes another big challenge because we did not have that facilities were not available in the past. So how does that really change? Is that also a focus area right now?
Absolutely. We have tied up with 104 universities and we have taken most expensive and complex tools and made available to the startups and incubators and the students and academia, made those complex and expensive tools available to them as a part of this exercise. So 104 universities are today getting opportunities to design, to learn, to do research and come up with new types of solutions. New ideas can be tested. So the focus, getting all the three parts of the value chain, design, fab, ATMP. Making sure that the talent pool gets further developed. Making sure that the entire ecosystem comes to India. This becomes the full semiconductor industry and then comes the downstream industry. Downstream is all your electronics manufacturing, automobile manufacturing, everything. And the upstream is hundreds and hundreds of chemicals and gases. So this is the complete picture. So with this part coming in, the upstream will develop and the downstream will develop.
One final question, Minister Vaishnav. In terms of the target, where do you see this? What is your target that you're really looking at? We have already seen about the investment nod that has been given in the years to come, particularly in the next 5 years that the Prime Minister has been talking about. Where do you see what would be the achievable target in this industry itself?
We can very clearly see that in the next 5 years, we will have many more fabs. Look at the entire scenario. 10 years back, people would question why should they go to India. Now, people are saying, how soon do we get to India? In the coming years, people will they say, oh my God, we should not miss this opportunity. That's the way things are moving. There's a clear change in the global mindset because of clear policies that our Prime Minister has laid and executed them. These are sapne nahi, hakikat bunte hain. These are real executed programs. We have seen the case of mobile phone. 98% of the mobile phones were imported 10 years back. Today, 99% of the mobile phones that we use are made in India. We have become major exporter of mobile phones. Same is the case very soon we'll see in case of servers and laptops. Manufacturing has already started. We are seeing that in defense. We are already among the top 25 exporters of defense products. We are seeing in sector after sector, we are seeing manufacturing is becoming a major part of our growth story. So with that in place, semiconductor will feed into entire manufacturing sector. We'll see many more semiconductor units coming to India. We'll also see downstream and upstream, and we will also see many chipsets fully designed in India, made in India, used in the country and exported to the world.
Well, thank you very much, Minister Vaishnav, for joining us on this special broadcast of This Is Exclusive, where the Minister also outlines what is it that we are expecting in the years to come. As the Prime Minister has been indicating, this is a dream for Viksit Bharat.